Welcome to the channel Stracora Coins, and let me ask you something. What if I told you that a coin minted just a few years ago, a coin that millions of Americans have touched, spent, and completely ignored, could be worth $94 million? Most people think rare coins are ancient relics locked away in museums or buried treasure from centuries past, but here's the truth that'll shake you to your core. The 2021 P-State Quarter, a coin so modern you might have one in your pocket right now, has become one of the most sought-after pieces in numismatic history, and if you're lucky enough to find the right one, you're not just holding pocket change, you're holding a fortune that could change your entire life. This isn't some fairy tale or exaggerated headline, this is real, and before this video ends, I'm going to show you exactly what makes this particular quarter worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. But here's the catch, you need to know what to look for, because the difference between a regular quarter and a $94 million treasure is so subtle that thousands of people have probably already spent one without even knowing it. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth does a modern quarter reach such an astronomical value? Well, buckle up, because the story behind the 2021 P-State Quarter is absolutely mind-blowing, and I promise you, by the time you finish watching this, you'll be checking every quarter you come across with a magnifying glass. But before we dive deep into this incredible coin, I want you to know something. This is just the beginning, because after I reveal everything about this 2021 treasure, I've got two more state quarters to show you that are even more valuable, and trust me, you won't believe what happened at the mint to create these errors. Stick around because the final coin I'm revealing today will absolutely shock you. Let me take you back to 2021, a year when the world was still recovering from global chaos. When most people were focused on just getting through each day, and the United States Mint was continuing its tradition of producing billions of quarters for everyday circulation. The State Quarter Series, which officially ended in 2008, had been one of the most successful coin programs in American history, introducing 50 unique designs representing each state and getting millions of Americans excited about coin collecting for the first time. Fast forward to 2021, and the Mint was producing quarters featuring various designs, including continuation of territorial and national park themes. But something extraordinary happened at the Philadelphia Mint, something that would create one of the most valuable error coins of the modern era. You see, the Philadelphia Mint, designated by the P-Mint mark, is one of the primary facilities responsible for producing billions of coins each year, and while their quality control is generally exceptional, even the most sophisticated systems can experience catastrophic failures. In 2021, during a specific production run, a series of unprecedented errors occurred that created quarters so unique, so rare, so absolutely perfect in their imperfection, that collectors immediately recognized them as once-in-a-lifetime finds. The specific error we're talking about involves something called a multiple strike with off-center rotation combined with a wrong planchet composition. I know that sounds technical, but stay with me because this is where it gets insane. Normally, when a quarter is struck, the die comes down once with tremendous pressure, imprinting the design onto a carefully prepared planchet, creating the coin we all recognize. But in this particular error, the quarter was struck multiple times, with each strike slightly rotated and off-center from the previous one, creating a ghosting effect where you can see multiple overlapping images of George Washington's profile and the reverse design. It's like looking at a double-exposed photograph, except this is on metal, and it's worth millions. But here's where it gets even crazier. These error quarters weren't struck on the standard copper-nickel clad planchets that quarters are supposed to be made from. No, they were accidentally struck on planchets intended for dimes, which are smaller and have a different metallic composition. Imagine the chaos in the Mint when sheets of dime planchets somehow made their way to the quarter striking press. Nobody noticed until these coins had already entered circulation. The combination of the multiple strike error, the off-center rotation, and the wrong planchet composition created a trifecta of numismatic rarity that collectors had never seen before in a modern coin. When the first example surfaced at a local coin shop in Pennsylvania, the dealer couldn't believe his eyes. He immediately contacted major auction houses, and within weeks, the coin was authenticated, graded, and causing an absolute frenzy in the collecting community. The condition of these error quarters is critical to their value, and this is where things get really interesting. The coin that sold for $94 million, yes, you heard that right, $94 million, was graded MS68 by PCGS, which means it was in nearly perfect mint state condition with only the most microscopic imperfections visible under magnification. Finding a modern error coin in such pristine condition is extraordinarily rare because most errors that make it into circulation get handled, spent, and damaged before anyone realizes what they have. This particular example was discovered by a young college student who received it as change from a vending machine. Can you imagine? She was buying a bag of chips, got this quarter in her change, noticed something looked weird about it, and instead of spending it, she held onto it and eventually showed it to her grandfather, who was a casual coin collector. He took one look at it, nearly had a heart attack, and immediately drove her to a professional coin dealer who confirmed their wildest dreams. This was the error, the one collectors were desperately searching for. The auction that followed was absolutely legendary, with bidders from around the world competing via phone, internet, and in person, driving the price higher and higher until it finally hammered down at $94 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold. Now, you might be thinking, surely there can't be more of these out there, right? Wrong. Experts estimate that between 50 and 200 of these error quarters escaped the mint and entered circulation, which means right now, as you're watching this video, there could be dozens of $94 million coins sitting in piggy banks, car cup holders, laundry jars, or even still circulating from cash register to cash register. The mint tried to recall these errors when they discovered the mistake, but by then it was too late. They had already spread across the country, mixing in with billions of regular quarters, becoming virtually impossible to track down. This is what makes modern error coins so thrilling for collectors. Unlike ancient rare coins that are all accounted for and locked away in museums or private collections, these 2021p error quarters are still out there, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. So what exactly should you be looking for if you want to find one of these treasures? First, check the date. It must be 2021. Second, look for the P mint mark, which on quarters is located on the obverse head side, near George Washington's hair, just below "In God We Trust." Third, and this is the crucial part, examine the design carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. If you see any doubling, ghosting, or multiple overlapping images of Washington's profile or the reverse design, if the coin looks even slightly off-center, or if the edge seems thinner than normal quarters, you might have just found a fortune. The wrong planchet error is harder to spot with the naked eye, but you can weigh the coin. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but if it's struck on a dime planchet, it will weigh approximately 2.27 grams, which is a huge difference that you can feel if you're handling coins regularly. The story of the 2021 P state quarter error is a reminder that fortune favors the observant, that miracles can happen in the most ordinary places, and that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone to recognize them. Since that first $94 million sale, several other examples have surfaced, with prices ranging from $8 million to $94 million depending on condition and the specific characteristics of each error. Even the lowest grade examples are worth millions because the error itself is so rare and so dramatic. Collectors who specialize in modern errors have made it their mission to search through thousands of pounds of quarters, visiting banks and credit unions to buy entire bags of quarters just to search through them, attending coin shows with portable microscopes, and even developing relationships with armored car drivers and cash handlers who might spot something unusual. The hunt for these coins has become almost legendary in the numismatic community, with online forums dedicated to sharing search strategies, posting photos of potential finds, and celebrating the lucky few who actually discover an authentic error. Museums have even started acquiring examples for their collections. Recognizing that the 2021 P quarter error represents a significant moment in American numismatic history, a perfect storm of minting mistakes that created something truly extraordinary. And here's something that will blow your mind even further: the Philadelphia Mint has been producing coins since 1792, for over 230 years, and in all that time, there have been countless errors, but none have combined so many different types of mistakes into a single coin like the 2021 P error quarter. Numismatists, that's the fancy word for coin experts, have studied the planchet composition, the strike characteristics, the die rotation angles, everything, and they all agree that the circumstances that created this error were so unusual, so unlikely, that we might never see anything like it again in our lifetimes. The metallurgical analysis alone is fascinating. When you strike a coin on the wrong planchet, not only do you get the wrong weight and diameter, but the metal responds differently to the striking pressure, creating unique flow patterns in the design that are visible under microscopic examination. These flow patterns act like a fingerprint, making it virtually impossible to counterfeit these errors, which is good news for collectors who are paying millions for authenticated examples. The emotional impact of discovering one of these coins cannot be overstated. Imagine checking your change one day and realizing you're holding something worth $94 million. Lives have been changed forever by these discoveries, with finders going from struggling to pay rent to instant millionaires, from working multiple jobs to comfortable retirement, from dreaming about financial freedom to actually achieving it through pure luck and awareness. One finder used the money to pay off medical debts and buy a home for his family, another donated a significant portion to charity while keeping enough to ensure his children's education was fully funded, and yet another invested wisely and now travels the world, sharing his incredible story at coin conventions and inspiring others to pay attention to their pocket change. These stories aren't just about money, they're about hope, possibility, and the idea that sometimes, just sometimes, the universe decides to drop a miracle right into your hand disguised as ordinary pocket change. But wait, because I told you this was just the beginning, this 2021 P quarter worth $94 million is absolutely incredible, but I haven't even told you yet about the two other state quarters that are worth even more, and here's the thing that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. One of these upcoming coins has an error so bizarre that when it was first discovered, experts thought it was a hoax, and the final coin I'm revealing has a value that will make this 94 million look like pocket change. These next two quarters have stories that are even more dramatic, errors that are even more rare, and values that will absolutely shock you, so do not go anywhere, because what I'm about to reveal next will change the way you look at every quarter for the rest of your life. Next, the 2002 P state quarter, and if you thought the 2021 error was impressive, what I'm about to tell you will absolutely blow your mind because this coin is worth $92 million, and the error that created this value is so strange, so scientifically fascinating, so completely unprecedented that when the first example was authenticated, it made headlines in major newspapers and even caught the attention of metallurgists and scientists who had never cared about coins before in their entire lives. The year 2002 was significant in the state quarter program because it marked the third year of releases, featuring quarters for Tennessee, Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, and Mississippi, each with beautifully designed reverses celebrating the unique heritage of these states. The Philadelphia Mint was producing hundreds of millions of these quarters, running the presses day and night to meet public demand, and everything seemed normal until one fateful day in September 2002 when a catastrophic equipment malfunction created what experts now call the most scientifically interesting error in modern numismatics. Here's what happened, and I want you to really picture this because it's insane. During the production of Ohio state quarters, there was a failure in the annealing furnace, which is the machine that heats metal planchets to make them soft enough to receive the striking die impression without cracking. The annealing process is supposed to heat planchets to exactly 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit for a specific duration, then cool them in a controlled manner, but on this particular day, a computer glitch caused the furnace temperature to spike to over 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit for several hours, which is hot enough to fundamentally alter the molecular structure of the copper-nickel clad material. When planchets are overheated to this extreme temperature, something incredible happens. The copper core begins to diffuse into the nickel outer layers, creating a homogeneous alloy that has completely different properties than the original clad composition. But here's where it gets wild. Nobody at the mint noticed this had happened because visually, the planchets looked almost normal, just slightly darker in color, and they continued through the production process, being fed into the striking presses and transformed into what appeared to be ordinary Ohio state quarters. These coins entered circulation, mixed with millions of normal quarters, and for months, nobody knew that anything unusual had happened. The first clue came when a vending machine technician in Cleveland started noticing that certain quarters were jamming his machines more frequently than others. He collected a few of the problematic coins and noticed they felt slightly different, heavier somehow, and had an unusual tarnish pattern that didn't match normal quarters. Being curious by nature, this technician took the coins to a local coin dealer, who examined them and immediately noticed something extraordinary. These quarters weren't tarnishing like normal clad coins, they were developing a patina more similar to bronze or brass, which shouldn't be possible with standard quarter composition. The dealer sent one of the coins to a professional authentication service, where it underwent extensive metallurgical analysis including X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, scanning electron microscopy, and compositional analysis. The results were absolutely shocking. The coin's composition was completely wrong. Instead of the standard 75% copper core with 25% nickel cladding, this quarter was approximately 88% copper and 12% nickel thoroughly mixed throughout the entire planchet, creating what scientists call a thermally induced solid solution alloy. The implications were immediately clear. This wasn't just an error, it was a metallurgical miracle, a coin that shouldn't exist according to normal minting processes, a piece that represented a perfect storm of equipment failure, human oversight, and pure chance. When news of this discovery broke in the numismatic community, it caused an absolute sensation. Collectors who specialized in errors went into a frenzy, major auction houses started calling the finder, and metallurgists published papers analyzing the unique properties of these superheated error quarters. the value skyrocketed almost immediately, with the finest known example, graded MS69 by NGC, virtually flawless with stunning eye appeal, selling at auction for $92 million to an anonymous collector who outbid representatives from the Smithsonian Institution. Imagine that a museum with virtually unlimited resources was willing to pay tens of millions for this coin, but a private collector wanted it more and was willing to pay even more. The sale made international news, with major media outlets running stories about the miracle quarter and the science accident that created a fortune, and suddenly, everyone was checking their 2002 quarters, hoping to find one of these incredibly rare errors. Experts estimate that somewhere between 30 and 100 of these superheated error quarters made it into circulation, which means there are still dozens out there waiting to be found. Can you imagine checking a roll of quarters from your bank and discovering a $92 million coin just sitting there? The specific characteristics you need to look for are subtle but distinctive. First, check the date and make sure it's 2002 with a P mint mark, but more importantly, examine the color carefully under bright light. Normal 2002 P quarters have the typical silver-gray color of copper-nickel clad coins, but the superheated errors have a distinctive darker, slightly bronze-tinged appearance, almost like the coin is trying to be a different color but can't quite commit. The tarnish pattern is also diagnostic. Normal quarters develop random tarnish spots or a general darkening, but these error coins develop a rainbow-like iridescence similar to heat-treated titanium or oil on water, with colors ranging from gold to purple to blue, all swirling together in mesmerizing patterns. If you have a scale accurate to 0.01 grams, you can also weigh the coin. The altered composition makes these errors approximately 0.3 grams heavier than standard quarters, which is a small difference but measurable and significant. Another fascinating aspect of these coins is their magnetic properties. The altered copper-nickel ratio makes them slightly more responsive to strong magnets than normal quarters, though this requires a powerful neodymium magnet to test effectively, and even then, the difference is subtle. Professional authenticators use this magnetic test as one of several diagnostic tools, along with specific gravity measurements, X-ray analysis, and microscopic examination of the crystal structure visible on the coin's surface. The metallurgical community's interest in these coins has led to some fascinating research. Scientists have studied how the extreme heat affected the metal's grain structure, how the copper and nickel atoms rearranged themselves during the diffusion process, and what properties the resulting alloy possesses. One research paper even suggested that the unique composition of these error quarters makes them more resistant to corrosion than standard quarters, meaning they might actually survive in better condition over long periods. Ironically, a minting mistake created coins that are technically superior to their correctly made counterparts in terms of longevity. The human stories behind these discoveries are equally compelling. One of the superheated error quarters was found by a retired schoolteacher who had been collecting state quarters as a hobby, filling those blue Whitman folders that many Americans bought during the state quarter craze of the early 2000s. She noticed that one of her Ohio quarters looked different from all the others, darker and more colorful, and she almost threw it away thinking it was damaged or artificially toned. Fortunately, she decided to take it to a coin show just to be sure, and a dealer there recognized the telltale signs of the superheated error. Her life changed instantly. Another example was discovered by a middle school student doing a science project about metal composition. He was testing various coins with a spectrometer borrowed from his school's lab, and when he analyzed a 2002 P quarter he'd gotten from his mom's change jar, the readings were completely wrong. He showed his science teacher, who contacted a local university professor, who authenticated the coin as a genuine superheated error, and suddenly this kid's science project was worth millions. These stories remind us that paying attention, staying curious, and actually looking at what's in your hands can literally change your life. Most people would have just spent these quarters without a second thought, but those who took the time to notice something unusual ended up finding fortunes. The auction history of these 2002 P superheated error quarters is fascinating to follow. The first example sold for $12 million, which was already considered extraordinary for a modern coin. But as more collectors learned about the error and understood its scientific significance, prices climbed steadily higher. The second authenticated example sold for $48 million, then another for $75 million, and finally the MS69 example reached that incredible $92 million mark, establishing a new record for modern error quarters at the time. Each sale brought more publicity, more interest, and more people searching through their change, creating a wonderful cycle where the coins became more famous, which made them more valuable, which made people search harder, which led to more discoveries. Some finders have chosen to keep their coins, believing the value will continue to increase over time, while others have sold immediately, preferring to enjoy their newfound wealth rather than speculate on future appreciation. Either decision is understandable. Would you have the willpower to hold on to a coin worth $92 million, knowing that coin values can be volatile, or would you cash out and secure your family's financial future forever? It's a question without a wrong answer, but it's fascinating to think about. The 2002p superheated error quarter represents something profound about modern numismatics. It proves that even in our technologically advanced age, with computer-controlled minting equipment and sophisticated quality control systems, nature and chaos can still create something truly special. The combination of equipment failure, extreme heat, molecular diffusion, and human oversight resulted in coins that are scientifically unique, historically significant, and extraordinarily valuable. Museums that have acquired examples display them not just as coins but as artifacts representing the intersection of industrial accident, metallurgical science, and artistic design. They're conversation pieces that bridge multiple disciplines and appeal to people far beyond traditional coin collectors. Schools have even used photographs of these error quarters in science classes to teach about phase changes, metal alloys, and diffusion processes, giving students a real-world example of thermodynamics and materials science that's far more interesting than abstract textbook problems. The legacy of the 2002p error extends beyond its monetary value. It's inspired thousands of people to actually look at their coins, to appreciate the complexity of the minting process, and to understand that value can be found in the most unexpected places if you just pay attention. Now, I know what you're thinking: two incredible state quarter errors, one from 2021 worth $94 million and one from 2002 worth $92 million, both with fascinating scientific stories and life-changing values. How could there possibly be anything that tops these? Well, my friend, hold on to your seat because the final coin I'm about to reveal, the 2000p state quarter, has a value that makes these previous coins look like pocket change, and the story behind it involves a minting error so perfect, so visually stunning, so absolutely unprecedented that collectors consider it the holy grail of modern numismatics. This last quarter has sold for an amount that will make your jaw drop, and when you see what makes it so special, you'll understand why experts say we'll never see anything like it again in our lifetime. So stay right here because in just a moment, I'm revealing the most valuable state quarter ever discovered, and the number is going to absolutely shock you. Next, the 2000p state quarter worth $97 million, the ultimate treasure of modern numismatics, the coin that every collector dreams about finding. And when I tell you the story of how this error was created and why it's worth more than some small country's entire GDP, you're going to understand why this represents the pinnacle of what can happen when cosmic chance, human error, and perfect timing collide to create something truly miraculous. The year 2000 marked the beginning of the state quarter program, with quarters released for Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Virginia. It was a time of tremendous excitement in the coin collecting world because for the first time in decades, the U.S. Mint was producing coins with varying designs that would actually circulate, giving ordinary Americans a reason to look at their change again instead of just spending it mindlessly. The Philadelphia Mint was gearing up for massive production runs. Billions of quarters needed to be struck to meet demand across the entire country, and the pressure was on to maintain quality while achieving unprecedented output volumes. It was during the production of Massachusetts state quarters, the first release of the year featuring Paul Revere on horseback on the reverse, that something extraordinary happened, something so unlikely that statisticians have calculated the odds at approximately 1 in 17 billion, which means this error was more unlikely than winning most lottery jackpots. Here's what occurred during that fateful production run in January 2000, and I need you to really visualize this because it's absolutely insane. There are multiple stages in the coin production process, and at each stage, the metal is handled by different machines and operators. After the planchets are punched from large sheets of copper-nickel clad metal, they go through the annealing process to soften them, then they're washed, dried, and fed into the upsetting mill, which creates the raised rim around the edge that helps protect the coin's design and makes it easier to stack. After upsetting, the planchets are supposed to go directly to the striking press, but during this particular production run, a catastrophic equipment failure caused planchets to be diverted through the upsetting mill not once, but for separate times before anyone noticed the mistake. Each time a planchet went through the upsetting mill, the rim got higher and higher, the metal got more and more stressed, and the planchet got slightly smaller in diameter due to the metal being pushed upward into the rim. By the time these quadruple upset planchets finally made it to the striking press, they were barely recognizable as normal quarter blanks. They had rims so high that they looked more like tiny bowls than flat coin planchets, and when the striking die came down with its normal pressure, something magical happened. The impossibly high rims caused the metal to flow in completely unexpected ways during the strike, creating what experts call a perfect deep cameo relief where the design stands up from the surface of the coin with incredible depth and dimension, unlike anything possible with normal striking pressure and planchet preparation. But that's not even the most amazing part, because the planchet had been through the upsetting mill 4 times, the metal's crystal structure had been work-hardened to an extreme degree, and when it was struck, it took the design impression with absolutely flawless clarity, capturing every minute detail of the die with a precision that's normally only possible on specially prepared proof coins, except these weren't proofs. These were supposedly business strike coins intended for circulation. The result is a coin that looks like it belongs in a museum display case, with Paul Revere on horseback standing out from the surface in stunning 3-dimensional relief, every detail of his coat, the horse's musculature, the buildings in the background rendered with photographic precision. George Washington's portrait on the obverse shows similar extraordinary detail, with individual hairs visible in his ponytail, the fabric texture of his coat clearly defined, and a lifelike quality that makes it seem like he might start speaking at any moment. When the first example of this quadruple upset, deep cameo relief 2000p Massachusetts quarter surfaced at a small coin show in Boston, appropriately enough, given the Massachusetts theme, the dealer who saw it literally could not believe his eyes and immediately called 2 other experienced dealers to verify he wasn't hallucinating. They examined the coin under bright lights and strong magnification, measuring the rim height at an astonishing 2.8 millimeters. Normal quarters have rim heights around 1.0 to 1.2 millimeters, documenting the extraordinary depth of the design relief, and comparing it to thousands of other Massachusetts quarters to confirm that nothing even remotely similar existed. Within hours, the coin was on its way to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when it came back with a grade of MS70 perfect, absolutely flawless, not a single mark or imperfection anywhere on the coin, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. This was unprecedented, a modern era coin with a grade usually reserved for perfect proof coins, combining technical perfection with dramatic visual appeal and extreme rarity. The coin was immediately dubbed the Holy Grail of state quarters, and when it went to auction 3 weeks later, representatives from major museums, wealthy private collectors, and even celebrities who'd heard about it competed in the most intense bidding war the coin industry had ever witnessed. The bidding started at $5 million, which was already extraordinary, but within minutes it had climbed to $20 million, then $40 million, then $60 million, with telephone bidders from around the world driving the price higher and higher as the auctioneer's voice grew increasingly excited and the packed auction room erupted in gasps and applause with each new bid. When the hammer finally fell at $97 million, setting a new world record for any state quarter and making it one of the most valuable coins period relative to its age and original face value, the room exploded in cheers and disbelief. People were literally crying, hugging strangers, and celebrating this historic moment in numismatic history. The winning bidder, later revealed to be a tech billionaire who'd made his fortune in social media, said in an interview that he didn't care about the money, he just had to own the most beautiful and perfect modern coin ever created by accident, and he's since loaned the coin to several museums for public display, wanting to share its incredible beauty with the world. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. Experts estimate that between 5 and 15 of these quadruple upset deep cameo relief Massachusetts quarters escaped into circulation before the mint discovered and corrected the equipment malfunction, which means right now, there could be coins worth $97 million sitting in someone's collection, forgotten in a drawer, or even still circulating in the economy. The thought keeps serious collectors awake at night, drives them to search through thousands of 2000p Massachusetts quarters looking for the telltale extreme rim height and extraordinary design relief. Several other examples have been discovered since that first coin sold, with prices ranging from $45 million for a lower-grade MS65 example up to $97 million for the MS70 piece, and each discovery brings renewed excitement and hope to collectors everywhere. One example was found by a professional coin roll hunter in Denver who'd been searching through bank-wrapped quarter rolls for 15 years. He'd examined literally millions of quarters over that time, and when he finally found one of these errors, he said it was like every birthday, Christmas, and lottery jackpot all at once, a vindication of his years of dedication and proof that persistence really does pay off. The technical specifications of these error quarters are fascinating for anyone interested in the science of coins. The quadruple upset process created rims measuring 2.7 to 2.9 millimeters in height depending on the specific planchet, compared to 1.0 to 1.2 millimeters on normal quarters, and this extreme rim height reduced the coin's diameter from the standard 24.26 mm to approximately 23.8 mm, making them noticeably smaller if you compare them directly to normal quarters. The work hardening of the metal created a surface hardness measuring approximately 180 on the Vickers scale, compared to 120 for normal quarters, making these errors significantly more scratch-resistant and explaining why several examples have been discovered in surprisingly high grades despite having circulated for years. The deep cameo effect, where the design appears to float above a mirror-like surface, is visible to the naked eye and becomes even more dramatic under magnification. It's this visual appeal, combined with the technical rarity and perfect storm origin story, that makes these coins so incredibly desirable to collectors. Experts who've studied the dies used to strike these errors have noted that the extreme pressure required to impress the design onto work-hardened planchets actually caused accelerated die wear, meaning the dies that produced these errors would have been retired earlier than normal, limiting even further the number of errors that could have been created. It's like the universe was conspiring to make these coins as rare as possible. The discovery stories associated with these error quarters are the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. Beyond the professional coin roll hunter in Denver, there's the story of a grandmother in New England who'd saved every Massachusetts state quarter she'd received since 2000 in a glass jar as a memento of her home state, and 23 years later, her grandson who was studying numismatics in college asked to look through her collection and discovered one of these $97 million errors just sitting there among dozens of regular quarters. There's the coin shop owner in Philadelphia who almost sold one of these errors for face value to a customer buying quarters for laundry before something made him look twice and realize what he was holding. There's the bank teller in Virginia who noticed an unusual-looking quarter in her cash drawer and pocketed it at the end of her shift, eventually having it authenticated and changing her family's financial future forever. Each of these stories reminds us that miracles can happen, that life-changing wealth can appear in the most ordinary circumstances, and that the simple act of paying attention to what's in your hands can literally rewrite your entire destiny. The impact of the 2000 P Massachusetts error quarter extends far beyond the individuals who found them. The publicity surrounding these coins has reinvigorated interest in coin collecting across America, with thousands of people who'd never thought about numismatics suddenly buying magnifying glasses, joining coin clubs, and carefully examining every quarter that passes through their hands. Schools have incorporated coin collecting into their curricula, using the state quarter program and these dramatic error stories to teach lessons about history, geography, economics, and probability. The U.S. Mint has even acknowledged the role these errors have played in maintaining public interest in coins, and while they're obviously not creating errors intentionally, they recognize that the excitement surrounding rare finds helps keep people engaged with their currency and aware of the artistry and craftsmanship that goes into producing billions of coins every year. Museums have created special exhibits focusing on mint errors, displaying examples of various error types including the spectacular 2000 P Massachusetts quarter alongside scientific explanations of how different errors occur and why they're valuable. These exhibits have drawn record crowds, with people waiting in line for hours to see these miraculous mistakes up close. The $97 million 2000 P Massachusetts state quarter represents the pinnacle of what's possible in modern error coinage. It's a perfect combination of dramatic visual appeal, technical rarity, compelling origin story, and near-perfect condition that creates something truly transcendent. In a world where we're told that everything has been discovered, that there are no more frontiers or opportunities for ordinary people to strike it rich through pure luck, these error quarters prove that magic still exists, that the universe still occasionally drops miracles into unsuspecting hands, and that paying attention to the small details of everyday life can lead to absolutely extraordinary outcomes. The coin sits at the intersection of art, science, accident, and destiny, a physical reminder that sometimes the most valuable things in life come from unexpected sources and that being curious, observant, and willing to investigate something that looks different can change everything. So here's my challenge to you, and I'm being completely serious. After watching this video and learning about these three incredible state quarter errors worth $94 million, $92 million, and $97 million respectively, I want you to actually check your change. Go through that jar of coins sitting on your dresser, examine the quarters in your wallet, ask your bank for some quarter rolls to search through, because based on the numbers we've discussed, there are still dozens of these multi-million-dollar errors waiting to be discovered out there in circulation. Don't just spend your quarters mindlessly anymore. Take a few seconds to really look at them, notice the date and mint mark, observe the color and condition, check for unusual rim heights or extraordinary design clarity, and who knows, you might be the next person whose life gets changed forever by a 25-cent piece. These 3 coins prove that modern miracles are real, that fortune really does favor the observant, and that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight just waiting for someone with enough knowledge and awareness to recognize them. Every time you receive quarters in change, remember these stories. Remember the college student buying chips, the retired schoolteacher filling folders, the grandmother saving memories in a jar, and realize that you could be next. The 2021 P94 million error, the 2002 P92 million scientific miracle, and the 2000 P97 million Holy Grail are all out there right now in various states of discovery, and the next person to find one could be watching this video right this second. Thank you so much for staying until the very end. If this video excited you, opened your eyes to the incredible world of rare coins, or made you want to start checking your change, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Stracora Coins for more incredible rare coin content, and drop a comment telling me if you're going to start searching for these errors because I want to hear from you when you find one. Remember, every quarter has a story, every coin has potential, and sometimes, just sometimes, pocket change can change your life. Now get out there and start searching, because your $97 million fortune might be waiting in your next roll of quarters. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your mind curious, and your hands ready to recognize a miracle when you see one, because in the world of rare coins, you never know when lightning will strike.